The bizarre eating habits of notorious dictators' food. It's essential to your well-being and to your very existence. Whether you're born in the richest palace or the smallest home, everyone has personal likes and dislikes when it comes to food. Of course, it's far more readily available to some than others, leading to dictators being able to request and have any food or drink they desire, allowing them to indulge in some truly bizarre preferences. Kim Jong-il and his expensive tastes. North Korea is one of the most restrictive authoritarian regimes in the world, with a heavily controlled food economy and regular shortages for the general public. But this didn't apply to the supreme leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-il, who was free to dine on whichever luxurious cuisine he fancied. Father to current North Korean leader Kim Jong-il was known for the human rights atrocities that took place in North Korea and the part he played in prolonging the country's 1990s famine. While the rest of the country starved, Kim Jong-il himself continued to indulge in his favorite rare delicacy. According to his former chef, Kenji Fujimoto, Kim Jong-il had a discerning palate, was appreciative of many different types of food from all over the world, and was uniquely able to identify any changes in his usual food fare. In one story, Fujimoto details how Kim Jong-il once noticed when his beloved sushi contained just a tiny bit more sugar than usual. And speaking of sushi, his tastes in that department were somewhat macabre, as well as every grain of rice being individually inspected by a team of women to ensure it was uniform in size and shape. Kim Jong-il reportedly also preferred his sushi to be so fresh and raw that it was literally still wriggling. His love of rice extended beyond sushi, with Fujimoto once being sent to Japan specifically for 100 rice cakes filled with mugwort. Other stories from the chef include him being sent across the world for various dishes and specialties, like Uzbekistan and Iran for caviar, Japan for seafood, and Czechoslovakia for draft beer. Also, apart from the fine French wines and champagne that he drank with his meals, he had more than a fondness for Hennessy cognac. But one of Kim Jong-il's favorite dishes is also one of the most surprising, as it was more humble, by far. It turns out that the dictator had a particular fondness for roast donkey. However, when he presented this meat to local dignitaries on a trip through Russia, they were informed at first that it was heavenly cow. It wouldn't be appropriate to say that Kim Jong-il ate donkeys after all. While Kim Jong-il demanded an entourage to scour the globe for his extravagant tastes, you don't need an army of assistants to get things done efficiently. That's where today's sponsor Odoo comes in. Their all-in-one platform streamlines everything from accounting and sales to website creation, giving you the tools to manage your business efficiently. No worldwide scavenger hunt required. One of the features that impressed me most is Odoo's website app. Let me show you how easy it is to use. Alright, here we go. Let's say I want to create a website where you can buy roast donkey. Only kidding. Let's make a military hardware store instead. In just a few clicks, I can drag and drop blocks, edit text, adjust colors, add images, and just like that, we're done. Everything is fully customizable. And thanks to the ChatGPT integration, I can quickly rephrase or fine-tune my content in seconds. Odoo's first app, like the website app, is completely free to use forever. This includes free support and unlimited hosting. And if you use the link in the description below, you can also claim a free custom domain for an entire year. Give it a try. You're gonna love it. Stalin and the psychology of excessive drinking. Leaning heavily into certain stereotypes, Russian leader Joseph Stalin was a big fan of drinking, and in particular, vodka. But it wasn't his love of it that made his history with alcohol so interesting. Instead, it's how he utilized it as a strategic tool for manipulation and influence. Stalin would frequently hold drinking parties for visiting dignitaries and his close associates. At these events, The guests would be plied with large amounts of liquor, including Stalin's beloved vodka. He saw these parties as unique opportunities to encourage his frenemies to relax and unwind, thereby potentially accidentally revealing pertinent or incriminating information. Simply refusing to take part was, of course, not an option. As Nikita Khrushchev once said, time came when you not only could not refuse a drink, but they'd simply force it on you, pump you full, fill you to the brim deliberately. In fact, Stalin would dedicate a lot of time and energy to ensuring everyone not only took part, but took part to excess. He would force toast upon toast, where the revelers would be forced to down their entire glasses, and create drinking games like guessing how many degrees below zero it was outside. The participants then had to drink an entire glass for every degree they were off by, leaving many participants absolutely smashed. On one such occasion, in 1942, potential U.S. presidential candidate Wendell Willkie claims there was a whopping 53 vodka toasts across the dinner party. Given the alcohol consumption, it's a wonder anyone left Stalin's with their faculties intact. Of course, all these parties also had an undertone, a budding fear that the wrong word could be said at the wrong time or in the wrong fashion, and immediately land the toast giver firmly on the wrong side of Stalin. And Stalin was not a man you wanted to be on the wrong side of. In fact, Georgy Dmitriev, the General Secretary of the Communist International, details the strategic language required to give a toast at one of Stalin's parties, and the undercurrent of fear that lay in the potential consequences of getting it wrong. However, not even Joseph Stalin could drink to this reported degree without suffering the consequences. It finally all caught up to him on February 28, 1953, when after hours of drinking, he was found the next morning unconscious, having suffered a massive stroke. He never recovered, dying 4 days later, on March 5th, aged 74. Benito Mussolini's raw garlic. There's a lot of things that can be said about the fascist Italian dictator and friend of Hitler, Benito Mussolini. But one thing that we can claim with absolute certainty is that he was definitely not a vampire. In fact, Mussolini had a peculiar fondness for raw garlic, with his favorite food being a simple salad of the ingredient along with oil and fresh lemon juice. While this may sound tasty on occasion, reportedly Mussolini would go overboard. Despite his preferred way of eating to be with his wife and 5 children at home, we can't say that they felt the same. Raw garlic is a rather potent smelling ingredient that lingers long after being consumed, to the point where Mussolini's wife Rachel once said to the family cook that after Mussolini indulged in a whole bowl of raw garlic salad, she couldn't go anywhere near him. As a result, she would escape to sleep in one of the children's rooms, rather than share a bed with who could incapacitate his enemies simply by breathing on them. Fidel Castro and his love of ice cream. While many of us enjoy an ice cream on a hot day, there are some people who take their love of the cold treat just a little too far. Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro. The Cuban revolutionary is one such person. Castro's love of ice cream remains legendary, as not only it was tantamount to an obsession, but because it also changed the food production industry in Cuba. Allegedly, Castro's love of all things dairy started at a young age, before he became the leader of Cuba. According to the famous novelist Gabriel Garcia Marquez, he once even witnessed Castro polish off a massive 18 scoops of ice cream after Sunday lunch. Let's all spare a thought for his bathroom attendant. Another time, Castro had his Canadian ambassador ship him 28 containers of the famous Howard Johnson's ice cream, one of each flavor. Upon tasting them, he decided it was time to set up his own revolutionary ice cream parlor in the heart of Havana. And so the concept of Copelia was born. But from 1962, the United States had declared an embargo on Cuba, and Castro was no longer able to get the milk he needed for his beloved ice cream. He spent the next 4 years developing the dairy industry within Cuba, allowing him to realize his frozen dreams in 1966, when he could finally open the giant ice cream cathedral. Copelia was named after wealthy supporter and project leader Celia Sanchez's favorite ballerina, and it could hold up to 1,000 people at a time. Soon, Copelia became world famous, with Castro shipping off the ice cream to dignitaries, food festivals, and revolutionary friends everywhere. It was, in his words, our way of showing we can do everything better than the Americans. Saddam Hussein and the Christmas chocolatey treats. Saddam Hussein was the dictatorial Iraqi politician known for human rights atrocities in the Middle East. But while the East may have been his home in life, Hussein actually had a strong affection for Western sweets, and in particular, Quality Street. While the rest of us only get to see a large tin of Quality Street at Christmas time when we fight over the best ones, it seems Saddam had a regular supply of the chocolate-covered treats. This is according to British MP George Galloway, who visited Hussein in 22 and described the British foods he saw in his home, including the elusive Quality Street. When Galloway refused to eat one, lest he regain the weight he had recently lost, Hussein tried to insist, telling him to choose his favorite, although he didn't share which one he himself was partial to. The fact that the Iraqi dictator had tins of Quality Street readily to hand is a story that will no doubt upset every child who is open to tin just to find them filled with their mother's collection of spare buttons and sewing supplies instead.